Ready? Well, obviously, I'm a little older than most people, and so I'm going to tell a few stories and some jokes that you might have heard before. But what the heck? You're lucky I can remember them. A long time ago, I was in the Army, and so this story brings back chuckles to me. But let's go to the future, about 100 years from now, where we're doing brain transplants. And so a guy goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, "You need a brain transplant." And he says, "How much is that going to cost me?" He says, "Well, we get one from a lawyer for $15,000. We get one from a doctor for $30,000. Or we can get one from an Army officer for $60,000. The guy says, "Why is the Army officer's brain twice as much as the doctor's?" And the doctor says, "Well, it's always like brand new because it's never been used." Our pastor gave a sermon the other day. He says, "Next week I'm going to talk about lying. So I want all of you to read Mark 17. So the following week, everybody comes to church and he asks the congregation, "So how many of you read Mark 17? And about 90% of people raise their hands. And there is no Mark 17. So he says, "Now I'm going to talk about lying." I'm a grandparent, and I know the easiest way to get grandkids' attention is to sit down, get comfortable, get my newspaper out. That's when they come around. I hope when I do die, I die like my grandfather did, and not like his passenger in his car screaming and yelling. You know, back when Adam was all by himself on this earth, he was lonely. And he said to God, he says, "I like a companion." And God says, "Well, that's going to cost you an arm and a leg." And Adam said, "Well, that's kind of steep. How about just a rib?" So he settled on just a rib. You know, you can't pray in school anymore. So I wonder, what do kids do when they have to take tests? Obviously, I'm from the north. I grew up in Detroit. So I don't know much about rednecks. But I do know a little bit about rednecks. How can you tell if a redneck is married? Well, both sides of the pickup have tobacco stains on them. And I read about a rich redneck that died and left everything to his wife, who was 14 years old. And to tell you the truth, a redneck invented a toothbrush. Not a teeth brush, a toothbrush. You know, I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about things. They say cats can only see in black and white. Does that mean they can't see Chinese people? You know, and then you see a 7-Eleven. It's open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And why do they have locks on the doors? You know, I tried different churches, and one day I was out on the east side, and I saw this church and said, "Everybody welcome." So I went in, and I was standing there, and this woman next to me was quite a big chest. And I kept looking at her, and when they came to exchanging a sign of peace, she says, "May peace be with you." And I looked at her, and you know how your mouth is always about a millionth of a second faster than your brain? I said to her, "You got big tits." You know, I had to go down to the federal court building and had to go through the security. And there was a real cute woman doing the security with the wand. So I went through about 3-4 times because she kept waving it up and down around me. And that was a lot of fun. I do have a friend who's a veterinarian and a taxidermist. So either way, you get your pet back. I thought when I grew up in Detroit, I went to a Catholic school. I thought my school was really small. But I met a guy in the Army from Gretna, Virginia. And his school was so small that they used the same car for driver's ed and sex ed. And he said they closed the zoo in his town when the chicken died. You know, I'm not very superstitious, but one day I was at a buffet and I was getting my food and I spilled some salt, so I threw it over my shoulder. Well, unfortunately, the guy behind me was about 6'5", 265 pounds. But you know what? My hands healed in about a week or so I didn't worry about it. Anyway, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Jim Lanctot.